And like I said, everybody repeat after me. Super bad all day long. Please welcome Miss Audrey Jenkins. Woo!
All right. You are hired as my hype man. That was good. So I thank you guys for coming out tonight for the, this is segment 2 of Why Are Women So Mean to Each Other. It was a small segment that I did before, but it got so much notoriety or whatever you want to call it that I had to do it in a bigger forum. So I'm so glad you came. I'll tell you just a little bit about me. Real Women Revealed was the inception, really business inception, LLC inception, was like 2010. But I started, I've always, probably as far as I can remember, always playing gatherings at my house when I was in grammar school, high school, you know, getting married and things like that. So that's a passion of mine, to just bring women together so we can talk. I think it's very therapeutic for women to get together because we understand each other, and more than likely someone else has experienced that. So it's very helpful. Also, my husband and I, we have a nonprofit, so I do a lot of the Real Women Revealed events to try to get notoriety for House of Miracles, which is a transitional facility, a nonprofit transitional facility for adult women and men in the early stages of recovery from drugs and alcohol. Our women's facility, we do focus on just transition as a whole, not just sober living, because domestic violence for women, it was just more of a need to just not make it so dry cut for women. I saw that. So we want to try to bring notoriety to House of Miracles. Xavier can say something too, because he's the director. I am the co-director of House of Miracles and help out in that capacity. I have started writing my first book. It's actually finished. It's just going through the editing stage. I had said that it probably would be out by Christmas, but I guess since it's my first book, I didn't understand all the editing, so that was so I'm very green to that. But I think it'll be really good. I think you'll enjoy it. It's real stories about women in relationships and how they lost their self-esteem and self-worth and what that looks like in a relationship, because I'm sure we can probably understand how we may lose that when we get into relationships. So the book is about that. Real life stories. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. So as I say that, I didn't put anybody, but it is real. So you may read it, you be like, so that's a little bit of what I'm doing. I do have the boutique upstairs. I did have a business partner where we had it in an actual location, but she moved, so we did not want to take on that responsibility. So it is what it is right now, and I love it. But I'm working on my own Real Women Revealed t-shirt line and things like that. So I appreciate my girl Tamara always rocking for me all the time. Even when I pop up on her sometimes, she rocks like that. That's what I'm talking about. So I appreciate that. I appreciate my sisters coming from Cali and stepping in to assist me. I'll let Carmen, maybe we'll give a good time to Carmen. You want to, real quick, we're going to have another networking group, and Carmen is a Narian representative, so maybe I can let her talk about that a little bit, maybe at the end, but you should check us out. We're going to have a really great fun event like this too. So I guess let Xavier just say something about House of Miracles, because I really want you guys to understand what House of Miracles is about, and then I'll bring on some entertainment in just a minute. So thank you for that.
So anyway, about House of Miracles, yes, I'm the director of House of Miracles, and it's an organization, like my wife said, that its purpose is to help those afflicted with drug and alcohol abuse to rebound from that, and to recover, and to forge their way back into a way of living that's prosperous, that's responsible, that allows them to be a productive member of society again. So, and that's really the main purpose. And so, you know, many of you may be afflicted in some type of way with a family member, friend, cousin, aunt, uncle, whoever, with substance abuse. And so it happens in every walk of life. So we want to help those with that. I personally, you know, just to be really transparent, I was afflicted myself, and so I've been clean and sober for over 11 years, and so I know. So I know firsthand about the dangers and the turmoils and of alcohol and drug abuse. So it can happen to anyone, and you don't have to. It doesn't have to be the person who's all down and out and dusty and dirty and all that, and you know the person you see on the streets or the people you see on TV. So anyway, these things like this that my wife is doing with the Real Women Revealed, and we also have Real Men Revealed that we will also do some things with that. This year that you guys will be invited to from time to time. Because us men, we need to get together and talk on our own too. Right. But anyway, House of Miracles, yes. We love for you to come out and see both our facilities, the men's house and the women's house. They're both in Glendale, Arizona. So give it to Audrey, and she will, you know, make arrangements and facilitate day and time that you could come out and see us and see what we do, visit and meet with some of the clients and stuff like that. And we, any of your talents and skills that you have, we definitely would appreciate it if you would take some time to offer your talents and skills to those individuals that may need it. So with that said, I hope everyone enjoys the evening. Feel welcome. This is your home, and God bless you. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you guys for coming over to the Real Women Reveal headquarters for the second taping segment of Why Are Women So Mean to Each Other. I thought it was a really great idea to do the segment again because I got so much feedback on the first one. And I think as talking, you know, we find out that things happen that, as fabulous as we all look, sometimes there's issues. So I want to start by saying, for me, I think positive upbringing and role models play a huge part in maybe not being so catty or not worried about, you know, you want to bond, you want to find a sisterhood. So I think for me, like with my mom, with her aunts and our family, we always got together. My mom there's 5 siblings. My mother is the oldest girl. She's 82 or 3, and she has 5. It's 5 of them. They talk like every day. Still to this day, they do their sister events and things like that. So I've always seen my mother really bond, and she has girlfriends that she's been friends with for over 50 years. So I've always seen that, and I really thought that was a really big deal to have those great influences. So with anybody, we can raise hands, or somebody can just give a shout out on this one. Is there any positive role models that you had as far as a sisterhood that you can think of? As growing up, anybody?
Been friends since junior high school.
Oh, wow.
And 11
That's
years old,
awesome.
and this is one of them. And there's about, what, 5 of us? 6 of us. And everybody's still here. Everybody's still friends. And, you know, we just support each other.
Right.
Because I think for me, it was the fact that I was part of a team.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in athletics, you become part of a team.
Yeah.
And so it was easy for me.
My daughters play sports, and that team.
That team.
Because whether you like them or not, when you get on the court, you got to play as a team to win,
right.
to get the W.
That's
so that's a good point with athletics. Anybody else want to share before we kind of just go ahead, Marguerite?
Yeah, I grew up in the South, and I had my great grandmother, my grandmother, all of the siblings, which she had 13, my great-grandmother did, and my grandmother had 11, and all these children were living, you know. So I grew up seeing the women as being the pillars of the family. And so all of my positive, I didn't get any negative about women growing up. You know, even though I had 6 brothers of my own, I never felt as if I was different or less of a human being because I was a girl.
Right.
You know, so it's just, and those factors affect me today because it's like, you know, they say, what would Jesus do? My thing is, what would my grandmother do?
Right.
You know, what would my great-grandmother think? Because the thing that they impress upon you, that you carry yourself in a certain manner in which you do not bring shame onto your family. And I think a lot of that has been lost.
And what I really want to say is just listening, it's really nice and refreshing to have a mixture of women, you know, different seasons of women in here. So that's very nice because I think we learn, and you want to hear about if a woman is older than you, how they maybe was brought up and things like that, or how it's different. So it's nice to have a season because I think we learn from each other when we have a different scale of it, and you can give a different perspective in that. And you brought up, oh, okay.
I wanted to say something.
Just speak, make sure you speak up.
Okay. I grew up watching my grandmother with a cadre of friends, and in church I was in various things where I developed friendships with sometimes maybe two people or maybe one. But my grandmother used to tell me, she said, in order to have a friend, you have to be a friend. So I've always remembered that.
That's a very good point, right? To have to be a friend, because we can always say what we may want, but are we giving that in return? You brought up a point. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No.
Speaking of sayings from your grandmother.
Okay.
I had the benefit of both grandmothers from both sides.
Oh, okay.
My paternal grandmother lived to be 103. And they were both great role models for me, great cooks. I probably grew up maybe a little closer to them in terms of communication than I did with my own mother, because I hung around them by choice. But here's a great saying my grandmother told me and used to say to me, and I didn't understand it until I was about 40. She'd say, "Shirley, you can catch more flies with honey than you can with sugar." I didn't understand that until I was about 40.
Okay.
And that was when like a big light bulb came on. Hey, just make it syrupy sweet. Dripping with honey. Don't give them the bad part. Just give them the honey. So anyway, I've been trying to live like that since. Right. But I tried to do a little bit of it. I guess I was sugar before. So now I've been trying to be honey.
Okay, right. To step up to the honey.
Yeah, step up to the honey.
Anybody else want to? Okay,
I tell
Regina.
my daughter that all the time. She be 27 in 2 weeks. She still don't get it. So there's still hope. Maybe by the time she turns 40, she get it.
Yeah.
But my mom, she used to tell me all the time. She said, "Me and your daddy can't get it. You don't need it." And she used to tell me too, "You get your own shit. You never have to ask nobody for nothing." So that's how I live my life. I do everything on my own. I pay for my stuff. I don't live beyond my means. Even if I am behind on something, I never, tell my mother if I'm kind of struggling or something. I just deal with what I have. And so it helped me. But then it make me hard on people though too, because I figure if I can do it, you can do it.
That's right. Okay. I want to bring up, okay, go ahead, start, and we're going to bring on to support.
Okay. And one thing I wanted to share, because it's like, oh, she said your role model. And it's strange because my mom was always my rock, but I also grew up as a child who I had a lot of different challenges, in my life. So it was just like, okay, I was one of those child who had to create her role models. Not saying that my mom wasn't one, because I love her, and my grandparents and my grandmother, they were great. But I come from a family that had some abuse issues from behind. So it was kind of like, okay, where do we go from here? And my mom used to always say, out of all my kids, you're the only one. Everybody just had to be around. Why you have to go up to everybody? And that was like one of her, fears, because you just never know what kind of people you would contract in your, in your area. But I just had that aura about me. But I always said, you know what? God always gave me a gift where I could always. Everybody has different characteristics, and I always had that talent. Of whereas, people was drawn to me in different ways, and I always find something from each person that's different, because that's what's going to help you in life be able to approach any type of obstacles you go through. You know which friend is going to be here full circle, and there's a whole topic to full circle, because you got the ones that bring it on a half circle, and one that's a piece of the pie. You know, but my point is, you just have to know what your surroundings are, and then you're able to create your own
That was a
happiness
good
in
point.
life.
That kind of resonated with me when you said you had to create your own role model. That's interesting, because I guess you have to. But that takes a big person or to try to understand, you know, to want to go out and create that, you know, if you don't have it, because sometimes you can just succumb to, if you didn't have that role model, you just succumb to what your surroundings are.
And you take the good from everyone. And when I say this, like my grandparents that grew up in the church, well, yeah, that's a whole other story. One was Baptist, one Jehovah's Witness. I went to Catholic school. But the point is, but the point is that you learned that they knew they wanted you to be someone who was a child of God. Okay, my mom, she was a freelance, a makeup artist. That was her creativity, helping and making people feel and look good. I had to pull that in. That's something that I enjoy doing till this day. So I try to take a little bit of a piece from everyone. Like, even when I met Audrey, I was like, oh my God, this girl is funny. And we always had girl talk. We was having sisterhood, you know, sessions before we even knew
22 years ago.
You know, brought our kids into this world together. So it just, you just take a little bit, certain things that I grew up with her, we talk about it. Like Regina, I ain't a comedian, but I fake it till I make it,
She's
you
our
know.
comedian.
And you just pick something from everyone.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. I want to move on because it's funny that you mentioned something about support, and that's kind of where I was going. I think you always want your sisters to support you, and I think I will be very transparent a bit to say that I do hear, I talk to a lot of different people in Phoenix or neighboring cities when I go to California, that they don't feel that they get the support that they want, or they don't get the support that they get from women, since that's kind of the subject, that they don't get the support they need. But I think you have to be comfortable and confident in who you are to give that support. It was almost like you said, Mom, you have to know how to, you know, be a friend. So sometimes, what does support look like to you? Because it doesn't look like the same thing for everybody. So sometimes you may say, I want my sister to support me, but that's what you have drawn for support to look like. It may not be. Maybe the support looks different for somebody else. But I think we have to become confident, is what I think, in who I am to be able to support. Because if I support you, Regina, I'm confident in me. Sometimes I think if we're not confident in who we are, I think that's where the lack of support comes from. Or I'm probably a fear behind it, that, oh, I'm a fear that she may get something, you know, quicker than I would. Or I don't want to fully support her just because it's a fear of something that you're lacking. Have anybody ever encountered, if you want to share, where you felt like you didn't get the support you need? Or even you can just be very honest and say, you know what, at one point, and I'll go ahead and kind of take that first step out. For me, I don't think that I've ever not wanted to support another woman, or especially my really good friends that I be around. But sometimes, this was years ago, I think a bit of me maybe lacked a certain self-esteem, because I think I looked at it like, wow, you know, she can really do this. And but then I had to tell myself, well, if you really do it and really put the work in and effort, then I can do it too. So I never wanted to be that woman or that person that was really jealous or envious. But I did understand sometimes if I saw somebody doing something, I wasn't jealous, and then I didn't want you to, you know, evolve in that. It was just that I had to think, well, it made me look deep. Maybe it was self-reflection, that I had to self-reflect on me. Well, then if I want to do that, then what do I need to do to try to accomplish it? You know what I'm saying? Did anybody want to piggyback? Okay, thank you, Rob.
Person who said who wasn't going to be talking tonight.
What did I say?
I just want to say that.
For that. But what did I say from that? I said,
But I know my friend. I just said, wait.
And the person,
You're right.
Since we're going to be transparent,
right.
I started my business at 23 years old, going on 24. I've been with my company a long time, and since it's going to be on the internet, I'm not going to say, but it's in financial services.
Okay.
And when you talk about that support, now, I'm young, I'm a young woman. So I don't know anything else. I come from a military background, wonderful family, all of that. So, you know, my mother's always like, oh yeah, you can do it, whatever you want to do. Matter of fact, my mother's the one who told me to get into business. And so I did, and she just believed I could do it. When you talk about that support, about supporting each other in business, I cannot tell you how many times I felt alone.
In your business?
Just not supported. You know, I remember trying to talk to my sisters, you know, about finances and things like that, just not supported. And my clientele I've been in business 26 years this month.
Wow.
My clientele after 26 years has been predominantly either white clients or Latino clients. You know what I mean? And it's something, you know, and I have some clients here, you know, they know who they are. And so, but it's interesting when you talk about supporting each other, like if they can do it, you can do it. And sometimes I just ask, we're more mature now, but sometimes I don't think people just take the time to listen, you know, just to listen. Sometimes I just want it to be heard and just say, hey, young sister, you know what I mean? You could do it, and da-da-da-da, and just be supported versus it being more like a threat or a competition. And I think people, you know, since we're going to go there, let's go there.
Well,
because we need to go there.
Right here, fear of competition.
because people, we need to talk about that because that's the big elephant in the room. And like, there's enough, I've always believed like, hey, look, we can make it together. You know, there's enough for you, there's enough for me. If you make it, I can make it. And I just don't think if we don't put that energy out there like that, because the energy is now that we're supposed to fight against each other and have conflict against each other. My girlfriend's in business. I support her every chance I get.
Amen.
Anything I can do to support her. She has supported me in my business. Rosalind's been in business. I've supported her when she was in business. I mean, you know, whatever we can do to try to, you know, to try to help each other. And I don't know why it has to be like that. You know, like
we Can I ask you when you said you felt so alone, so what do you mean by alone?
Well, because because sometimes I'd be passing out my cards, and I know everyone was busy, and this has been 26 years, and people sometimes look, I look like, you know, I'm black. I look like you. Give me some time. You know, just listen sometimes. That's what I mean by that sometimes. You know, give me some time. If a young lady comes up to me, I really take the time to listen because I don't know what her day's been like. I don't know, I may be the only one that have listened to her that day, you know, and I used to be, you know, in my business 26 years, at one time in my business I was an executive, you know, I've won many awards and all of that, and so I'm at a different stage in my business now. I'm kind of semi-retired and, you know, doing some other things, but, you know, but that's what I mean by that we don't do that, we don't take the time.
Go out of our way sometimes.
We don't go out of our way, or like when someone comes up to you, and I just remember that, and there were periods of time throughout my whole career when I'd have those experiences. There were periods of times when she would tell me she was having those experiences, things we just didn't understand. You know, we just didn't understand. Instead of us, this world is big. There's enough for all of us. You know, you may not want to be a client of mine, but if you talk to me, you know, in my day I was a big networker. If you talk to me, I may say, you know what, I don't do that, but this person does that. And I'm going to help you, you know, I'll help you.
I'm going to get Shirley and then I'm going to come to you, Regina. And thank you, Rosalind, for the lady who said that she wasn't going to say nothing. Yeah, but that was good. I appreciate that.
Okay, I just want to make a comment that might redirect your perception. Okay. One of the difficulties, and it's not a real difficulty for real, but it's a perceived difficulty, is that as a group of people, really, we don't discuss finances.
No.
Okay, we don't discuss money.
Right.
Okay, so that was problem number one.
That is a problem.
Okay. Problem number two, sometimes or most often, people are going from paycheck to paycheck.
Exactly.
Okay. One of the things that we have a problem doing is starting when our children are young, teaching them about finances, okay? So mostly people are bad money managers. Mostly they are, okay? If I could look at myself, I would say I did things as a young parent to help my finances, things that people don't do anymore that I learned from my mother or my grandmother. Things like coupons.
Exactly.
Okay? Like, I don't have to have the most expensive dress or be the best dress. Okay, I can find something more economical.
At the boutique
and
upstairs.
put that other little bit aside. But those are not things that we are taught as a group, because mostly our people didn't have any money to save. Okay?
Right.
And so once they get a little money, they're wondering, when did she start dealing with money? Is she capable of dealing with money? Because then there's the perception of black people don't know what to do with no money. How are you going to tell me you're going to manage my money? How do I know how you managing your money? So it's all those perceptions around money that we don't discuss as the children are growing up. You know, even though we've learned, you know, kids need to start saving at a young age, how many children still have a piggy bank? They might get one as a baby gift at the baby shower.
With dust on it, right?
And it puts the money in it. By the time the kid is 1, the money is gone. Right. Like somebody done stole it out the piggy bank. So I guess I'm just trying to say, don't look at it as they were against you. Look at it as they just didn't know any better. They weren't taught any better. So don't take it personal. It's just as a group of people, we don't do money. We don't talk about money out loud. Now, in other groups, they'll come tell you in a minute, I got 200,000 in the bank, you know, and we got a cottage up here, and
they got an inheritance.
Right, well,
You know.
even if they don't get an inheritance, they still tell you about their money.
And I guess that's a good point, because you could be strategic and listen at that, because that's a good way to look at another mindset, not to really kind of get down on I don't have any support. And trying to think, still uplifting yourself internally is the point that she said, that maybe be a little more strategic
I
to
would
say.
like to comment on what she said.
And then, and then we're gonna go to Marguerite.
I don't,
and then
that was not to be taken, that was to be taken just being in business, period.
Oh, sure. Sure. I got that.
That's to be taken being in business, period. That's the business I was in. But I know that there's other people that are in other businesses and they felt the same way.
No, I'm saying, I've been there with you, so I would say I felt the same way.
In essence, to what you're saying about black people and money, you're absolutely right, ma'am. You're absolutely right. It's not a conversation that's held in the homes. Still to this day, I can throw out statistics to you. We don't own anything. We don't, you know, because we just don't.
But we're
consumers.
And let me say this, but our dollar is the biggest spending dollar.
Exactly, but we don't.
So how can it be the biggest spending dollar, but we don't own anything?
We don't own anything because we're not.
Because we consume.
Because we're consumers.
No, I know. Yeah, I know that's the answer in a sense, but I'm just saying.
Right, so that's, we're not investors, we're consumers. So my question was.
So if we picked, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, this is my, so if we picked one person and went around here and say, hey, this month we're gonna work hard and plug in Joy's business, and then come February, you know, and March, we all pick a month, then that means that we're helping each other in a sense, because our dollars are so big that we're gonna put it in and make sure, you know, Joy's thing is this, so we're gonna rally around, let's doing this for Joy. Next is Kayla Vaughn, we're gonna work, how can we, you know, not to say we won't support you on the off, but if we just channeled it like that, you know what I'm saying?
You can't do business with everyone if you don't believe in it, product, but like you have a boutique, so if you know, if I see something in your boutique, I should purchase in your boutique and things like that. And I do try to do that when people say, this is what I have, you know, da 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 da. And I've done that. I can honestly say, as a person, she can tell you, I have done that. I've supported people. I've gone to their events and I've spent my dollars there, you know, to support them. So in saying that, I'm gearing that toward the fact of just supporting each other, period. You know, in business.
I think oftentimes people in general, they always feel as though somebody has to support a business that we start or a dream that God has given us. But most times, we often do not realize that if God gives us the dream, the vision to do something, then He's going to give us everything that we need in order for that business to grow. So we can't always look at, oh, I want my sister to support me, or I want this person to support me, because God is the one that's going to give you the increase. And He's the one that ultimately wants all the glory for everything that He gives us. And so sometimes we can't always say, well, this person to support us. God is the one that gave you the foundation in order for you to get the clients, in order to get the increase, in order for you to be in business as long as you have.
And that's why I was saying, if you're confident in yourself, you're not worried about what else or fearing that somebody else will get it. Go ahead, Mom.
Well, what I wanted to say is, I've heard people say, you know, that whenever we start talking about things, we always go back to, you know, back to slavery. But you would be surprised how many things that we are doing every day that is connected to what our ancestors went through. You
Yes.
will really be surprised. So one of the things we have to do in remembering what they went through and know our history and is what are we going, how are we raising the babies?
How do we then incorporate, what is your suggestion then in incorporating some type of, like you said, with the children for women supporting women? Because that's kind of what we're talking about. The main topic is why are women so mean to each other. So in supporting, what's a good way how we can make sure that we show young girls that we should support each other? Okay, Star.
Take away some of those reality shows. They just
Yes, that's so true.
Well, it's not even necessarily taken away, because as a child, then you can monitor what they watch.
Right.
As adults, we cannot watch it myself, but you could. For me, if they shouldn't be allowed to watch it, then just don't let them watch it. Because my thing is, if you don't like something, turn the channel.
Yeah.
Or turn it, or whatever, whatever you necessarily don't like, then just move away from it.